Welcome to Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com. Thank you all for joining us today. Very special guest live via, well, not telephone, but Skype, Robbie E. Robbie E., what is going on this Thursday, brother?
Hey, I just want to throw out there right from the beginning of this, if you guys hear any crying in the background, it's not me. I am driving with my baby twins. So it's not me that's making weird sounds or crying. Just throwing that out there because there probably will be a lot of it. But I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
We are glad to have you. And don't worry about the crying. You're driving in traffic back east, so we understand. It's okay. Anytime people drive back east or in California, they're crying anyway, so it's totally okay.
You know what? So we're used to that, and everyone's not. I don't think it's a big deal. It's like normal to me.
Well, it's just funny. You know, before I became a parent, I would go to restaurants. I would just get so annoyed at the crying baby in the next booth or across. It's like, but now it's like it's almost like I don't even pay attention anymore. It's just a common background noise now. It doesn't even bother me anymore.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean,
it shows that we're dads, and it's like normal to us.
Exactly. So, other than being a dad, congratulations, by the way. What is new in the life of Robbie E? We've not seen a whole lot of you on mainstream television. What has been going on since you parted ways with whatever the company's called, TNA, Global, whatever they're called this week?
Well, I mean, I've only really been gone from the company for 2 weeks, and it was basically just along the lines of, my new contract had turned into the more you wrestle, the more you get paid, and I wasn't wrestling very much. They weren't using me, and I just kind of felt like Robbie E has more to offer, not only the wrestling world, but the world. So I just kind of, I got baby twins. I got a life, man. I just had to use my time elsewhere, So I asked for my release. And, yeah, I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, so I'm feeling some things out. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm getting my feet wet with some new things, and we'll see what happens. I think over the next year, Robbie E will still be in your face and popping up on your television. Maybe not in wrestling-related things, but definitely in your face. The world needs Robbie E. People need Robbie E. You know what I'm saying? I can't let them down.
Absolutely. People have been messaging me left and right since they found out you're going to be on the show. I've got a couple of good questions, kind of a couple of interesting questions. We'll go ahead and get to those a little bit later on. But I first wanted to ask you, every time I talk to anybody within the company, it just seems like there's no real set answer as to their current state of being, shall we say. I actually saw Eli Drake at a Booker T's event out here in Hollywood earlier this month, and he's a champion, and he kind of said to me, he's not really sure where they're going, but he's champion, so he's happy, with whatever they present to him. Is that how you felt? Were you kind of just like, okay, well, they're existing and they're paying me, so we'll see what happens? Or was this more motivated by, I don't see where they're going and they're not using me, so I'm gonna bounce?
For me, man, I got into wrestling to be a star and be on television and to make money. And
right.
Like I said, I mean, my new contract, the way it was the more I wrestled, the more money I made, and I wasn't wrestling very much. So if I'm not making money somewhere, I got to make money somewhere else. So for me, I mean, I'll tell anybody straight up, I'm in the wrestling business for money and to be a star. I mean, I do love wrestling, of course. But yeah, man, I gotta support my family. So it was just, I got to move on to other things. I wasn't getting paid. But as far as not knowing the direction of the company, and I don't want to talk bad about TNA. Without TNA, there's no Robbie E. I mean, they gave me an amazing 7.5 years. Without them, I wouldn't have traveled the world and been on a reality show and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, they have to get in line as far as organization and storylines and things adding up. And hopefully, finally, now that they have someone in charge who I think is staying, maybe they could slowly start to get their ducks in line. You know what I'm saying?
We can only hope because, I mean, we've been talking about it on my various shows and on social media in general. It's like there's definitely a need for somebody to poke at the WWE and go, okay, here we are competition and we're coming to get you. And nobody's really done that since the early days of TNA, where there was a viable, not necessarily competition, but a viable alternative. There's not been really anything like that since then. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I honest with you, in 2017 and the way the world's changing and moving forward, and the fact that everything's been done already, and now WWE has kind of created their own competition just within NXT where you kind of get all your needs there, and they own it. It's like, I don't really think it's possible for anyone to ever compete again with WWE without them owning it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you mentioned nothing new in 2017. I've noticed that that's kind of the trend worldwide. I mean, they're bringing back TV shows, they're remaking movies. Is it a lack of creative intelligence overall in the world, or is it just entertainment? Or what do you think about that? Because it seems like everything's a rehash these days.
Well, I just think the world is running out of stuff. I mean, it gets to a point where everything's been done, So
right.
It is what it is. And as far as like just people watching it or there being competition in wrestling, you got to think, like, when I was a huge wrestling fan in the mid-'90s and the late '90s and the Attitude Era, there was like 40 channels or 50 channels. So like you could flick through the channels and the wrestling on TV or now, like, you can't just flip through channels. There's like, I have like 1,000 channels.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying? And
yep.
Because of DVR and because of YouTube and everything and social media, no one just sits down and watches TV anymore. See, it's hard to gain new fans that are just like flicking through the channels and tuning in and loving it. So like, it's hard to get new people involved and interested, and there's just so much competition, even for live tickets, whatever. Now, I mean, you could go to MMA and UFC, and then there's 50 different kinds of wrestling and 50 different kind of plays and 50 different kind of comedy shows. There's so many options out there. It's just so hard to stand out and be like a big deal anymore these days, no matter what it is.
Exactly. You mentioned being a fan in the 90s and in the Attitude Era. Who do you think was the person that you saw wrestling at any given time and said, "This is what I want to do"?
I get asked that a lot, and there really isn't like one. I just liked wrestling. I liked a lot of wrestlers. There isn't like one guy who like drove me to like be. You know what I mean? I wish I had a cool story for that, but I don't. I always loved wrestling and knew I wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually have a question from somebody on Twitter. They asked the elephant in the room question. What do you think when you were doing the original Jersey Shore Robbie E character of the comparisons to Zack Ryder? Was that more of like, no, I'm doing my own thing, or was it or you understood? Yeah, I get that.
I mean, I guess like he was a guy from New York. I'm a guy from Jersey, and we both. Like, we're club guys, so we're the same character. I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, if you want to look for something, but I could probably compare, like, 500 wrestlers on different shows that resemble each other, but we didn't wear the same colors. We didn't wrestle the same. We didn't talk the same. I mean, I guess we both said bro, but to me being from Jersey, a Jersey Shore guy is completely different than a Long Island guy. Like, they're not even, it's completely two different, So,
yep.
It's, I guess, when people are,
Yeah, it was funny because every time I would talk about how, Robbie E is doing great things in TNA. He's got a great character. People say, it's just Zack Ryder. It's like, no, it's not Zack Ryder. It's a completely different character. But people would argue me. Okay, whatever. So, you just kind of throw up your hands like, okay.
To be fair, I mean, Zack Ryder, I've known him forever. We started in the Indies together, and, we still talk regularly. But I actually believe if you really go back to any of it, I guess his character debuted before Robbie E, but he wasn't like fist pumping or anything yet. Like, I was doing all that first.
Exactly. I was going to say, for everything that you copied from Zack, it's like, I think Robbie did it first. So
yeah. But I mean, again, it's two different shows, and who cares? Whatever.
Right. So yeah, you mentioned the Indies with Zack. Take us back to the early indie days, because people didn't really catch on to Robbie E as far as the entire global community until 2010. Where did Robbie E come from? Where did Robbie E develop?
So I started, obviously I liked wrestling like everybody else, when I was a little kid. My brother liked it, so he got me into it, and I started watching it when I was 4. And the first ever match I actually saw was Dan Spivey versus Sting on Sunday night's main event.
Wow.
And so I liked it all through elementary school. And then when I got to middle school, I was too cool for it. And then when I got into high school, it was like, okay, I actually really want to do this. So I looked up schools, and I joined a pro wrestling school called IWF because they ran local shows. So it was like the only one we knew of. And I started training when I was 16, and my first match was on my 17th birthday, and I just turned 34. So I've been wrestling over half my life. It's pretty crazy.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I did indies for close to 10 years, and, throughout the indies, I consider myself one of the top guys in the Northeast, and, WWE regularly used extras and stuff, so I did a bunch of jobber matches and extra spots and commercials and all that stuff for them while trying to make a name for myself. And then, the rest is history. When I finally had my tryout with TNA, I got the job.
I remember the one skit back in 2006 that Edge dressed as Ric Flair attacked you. That was I remember that distinctly. That was interesting.
Yeah, that was me getting beat up on the highway by Continental Airlines in Jersey. Oh, great memories. It's like one of Raw's greatest 50 moments or something, or 100 moments or something. I don't know.
Something like that. What would you say is your favorite match looking back, as far as that you were in and that you watched growing up as a fan?
Growing up, I know, again, it's going to be lame, but I don't really have one match.
Okay, that's fine.
But as far as even one that I was in is hard, but I will say that, like, moments that I remember, it's always special when you win championships. When I came in and I won the X Division title from Jay Lethal, that's like a memorable match and moment for me.
Yep.
And then when I won the tag titles in San Diego at Bound for Glory with Jesse, that was memorable. And then winning them again in Japan was memorable. So anytime you win something, at least to me, that's very memorable.
Yeah, talk to me about Jay Lethal. Here's a guy who, was really had his own little niche in TNA. He was kind of like the comedy guy, but he was also a really good wrestler. And then he goes to Ring of Honor and just explodes.
I think he was more than just a comedy wrestler in TNA. I think he had a great position, and because after he got out of being a comedy guy, wasn't he X Division champion and stuff? Well,
as I say, he started as a comedy act. He did the Black Batista thing, but he really developed into a really serious, good wrestler. But he didn't really, break through until the program with Flair. And then once he left TNA, he became arguably the most dominant Ring of Honor champion we've ever seen.
Yeah, good for him. Obviously he was always a super talented wrestler, and he's amazing in the ring. And different places see different things in people to use them different ways. So, as he got older, he was in a more comfortable place in Ring of Honor where he was able to really be even better than he was when he was in TNA. More seasoned
absolutely.
and everything. But,
So, for those of us that are also fans of other things besides wrestling, I remember distinctly you being on The Amazing Race. And I thought that was so cool, because The Amazing Race is one of the shows where, I don't watch a whole lot of shows, period. Like even wrestling nowadays, I kind of ease into it. If it's a lot of commitment for me during the week, but Amazing Race, I watch every single week, and seeing you and Brooke, I go, hey, I know those guys. To tell us about the experience of going around the world and competing on a show like that. That was amazing.
Well, the funny thing is, I never had watched the show before being on it. I was never like a fan of it. Which is pretty crazy. So we got casted for it, and obviously, leading up to it, we studied it and watched. Then I learned about it. But so yeah, I actually hadn't really watched it. But anyway, yeah, it was. We made it to the final. So basically, we were traveling for 31 days, I believe it was, straight. And you're talking, you do a race, and then you finish the race. You get locked in a hotel room. You're in the hotel room 12 to 24 hours. You can't leave the room because you can't interact with other teams. And then right when you're in the room, they bring you food, and you wash your clothes in the sink. And then right when you leave the hotel, the cameras are on, and you just start racing again. So think about doing that for like 31 days. It's insane, man.
That's pretty intense, for sure.
It is, and like for me, who's on, I eat on a normal diet, and like I have a workout. I couldn't work out for a month. I was eating crappy food. It was like, and I just didn't feel like by the end of it, even though we didn't win, like at the finals, it was like, I was like, oh my God, thank God it's over. I
believe it, man. Yeah, I watched these guys on The Amazing Race, and it's just like, that's so intense. And I can only imagine, now you say that, I can only imagine just the grind, and not sticking to your own routine. Because I'm a routine person. If I don't have my own routine in place, I go nuts. So I can imagine a guy like you who's in the gym and eating right and everything. It must have been almost borderline nightmare, I'm sure.
It is, but looking back though, it really is. Granted, of course, I mean, I wish I would have had a different partner, but looking back, it's really like it's like it's so surreal. It's like I don't even remember doing it. Like it's like I have to even think of like all the places we went and everything because it all happened so fast, and it's like it's a really weird experience, but so cool and something that most people in the world will never get to experience anything like it. So I'm proud of it, and I'm a finalist. I'm proud of how far we got because everybody thought we were going to be gone like the first episode.
Yep. Well, I was confident in my my wrestling people, so I was very proud to be a wrestling fan, proud to be a TNA fan at that moment. That was really cool. What was it like to have Brooke along? I mean, you mentioned having a better partner. Was it tense the whole time with Brooke having her along, or was there good points, bad points, or
I mean, at the time we were still kind of maybe getting along a little bit, but I mean, we were both focused just on ourselves and getting ourselves over on TV and stuff. That's really what it came down to. But yeah, as far as the relationship and everything, we were done by then.
Yeah, I noticed. It's funny. When I was involved, if you want to call me involved in the business back in the day, I had a significant other that wasn't involved, and it was so much easier than having both people involved and doing their own thing in the business and trying to be together as a couple. It was just so frustrating. So I totally understand where that would be a problem for sure. I have I'm gonna read this verbatim. This is from at ADS_AMI on Twitter. How did you do your amazing hair back in the day?
Well, I did it so much, it got like trained. So it was so easy to go up. I was able to throw it up in like 2 minutes. It was just spiker hair glue to get it up, and then a whole bunch of gotta be glued hairspray to keep it up. And it was it was during wrestling and everything.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I never had that much hair, or even I don't now. That's for damn sure. But I can't imagine having my hair just completely rigid while I'm trying to wrestle a match. That would just boggle my mind. It boggled my mind watching it. So that was just unbelievable. Let's see. It's Badger on Twitter. What was it like to be on Grimm's Toy Show?
Well, Grimm's Toy Show is something I'm still a part of. I do it regularly. Not only is Grimm a great guy, but he's a great. The following he has is unbelievable. It's you can't even, you wouldn't believe, if people don't know who it is, you wouldn't believe that his videos get 1 million viewers, and it's insane, but they do. And I mean, he happens to film 15 minutes from where I live, so it works out really good where I can be a part of it regularly. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool, very cool. So people are asking me now that you're gone from TNA and everything, what does the future hold? Are you going to be, are you going to stay in the indies? Are you looking to, branch out into other avenues of entertainment? You're obviously a new father. What does the future hold for Rob Strauss?
Well, everyone says when they leave somewhere that they got big things in the works and all this stuff. And, it's been 2 weeks. I'm not like, pretend that I have all these things going on. But what I will say is, it definitely we'll be busy with indies. I'm booked out through 2018. And, I still want to be contracted somewhere full-time and wrestle. I'm 34. I'm in the best shape of my life. Like, I do want to wrestle somewhere full-time. But on top of that, now I do have more time to try other things. Like, I do want to do some more reality shows that I never had the time to do. And then also right now, Mondays at 10:30 a.m. on all of Muscle and Fitness's social media, I'm doing a weekly video where I'm the Dad Bod Destroyer, where I do, like, these Dad Bod workouts to keep you from getting a Dad Bod. And then Tuesdays, I'm on Fight TV, social media platforms, and their app and everything, doing videos called #RealRobbieE, where you could follow, like, my life and what I'm doing, and I take you on the road with me. And then Thursdays on Men's Fitness social media platforms and their website and everything, I'm doing weekly videos called Back to the Basics, where I'm bringing you some old school workouts and, so you don't have to use so much equipment and stuff, and to keep it simple. So with all that going on, I am super busy filming all that stuff, and then I'm getting a whole bunch of press from it and everything. So it's actually super cool, and that is keeping me alive. And I love like Muscle and Fitness is huge. So it's already opening up so many doors for me.
Absolutely. You mentioned the one was on the Fight TV app?
Yes. Tuesdays, it just started actually. This past Tuesday was the first episode. It's called #RealRobbieE. You can pull it up right now, and it's just every week you're going to come on the road with me or just see something going on in my life for a few minutes. And they'll be pretty cool, fun videos.
I'm telling you, that Fight TV app is a godsend, man. I'm able to watch, the NWA stuff, Ring of Honor, everything that I want to see wrestling that's not WWE. Pretty much, I can get on that app, and it's awesome you're there. So check it out. #RealRobbieE on Fight TV. And Robbie, anything else you want to plug before we part ways here today, sir?
No, I appreciate it, man. If you can just, my Twitter and Instagram are @RobbieEImpact, and then my official website is robbie-e.com. And then, so again, I'll say it. I know it's a lot. Mondays, Muscle and Fitness social media. Tuesdays, Fight TV social media. And Thursdays, Men's Fitness social media. So check them all out, and hopefully you can add the links to these posts and everything.
We will definitely do that. And on behalf of everybody at NoDQ.com and Robbie E, this is Jeff Meacham saying we will see you next time on Talk Wrestling.